Good morning, everyone. I'm very, very excited for us to be together again. Today is the 16th of July, 2025, and the Lord has seen it worthy for Nyambura and I to have a conversation around transitions. So allow me to share my screen so that I can formally welcome you to this conversation. I also want to welcome those who are coming from Nyambura's side of the world. So it's very important for us to start together. So as you're settling in and calling other friends to come in live, allow me for my current subscribers to just say a great big thank you. Thank you so much. Last time when I was having Chasing Courage conversation, I really requested for you to go and subscribe because I was under 200. And by the end of the talk, I was able to get to 203 subscribers. I am so, so thankful. I can't even explain how grateful I am. It's one thing to have a goal and then to be able to crush it, and especially where you're dependent on other people. I don't take it for granted. So thank you so much for those who joined and are now following me. Please invite other ladies who can come in and just learn about personal growth through my page. So for those who are new to me, my name is Wairimu, the Audacity Mentor, and I'm a Christian-based mom mindset and life mentor. And I'm also an author. And I usually work with moms who are prioritizing their personal growth. And what I do is with those moms who are deciding I want to grow, we then work together to build bankable personal and business brands that then help them to design and live out a life that they desire and that God approves. And they do this without compromising their faith and without compromising their family life. And so if this is something that you're interested in, you want to know how it is that you can build yourself as a brand or build your business as a brand, I would really love to work with you. So like I've said, I'm an author. So my book is called Wired Weird. And in this book, I share stories of my life and the journey that God allowed me to go through to discover his cues, clues, and calling in my story. And so to be able to be live today, to be able to have conversations with Nyambura and other experts and other moms who have gone through so much and have remained standing, I'm truly, truly thankful to be able to find my calling. And so again, if you desire to discover your calling, I have a program called Discover Your Calling, and I would love for you to join me in that. So my book is not ordinary. It's an award-winning book. I'm learning to say that often. And that's an Akaba award-winning book. Akaba stands for African Christian Authors Book Award. And as somebody who never imagined that I'll be able to do this, allow me to just encourage you. If you're seated there, you feel like God is asking me to write a book, to share a story, to share a testimony, to share my expertise, and you do not know how to begin, please feel free to reach out. Even if it's asking for advice, I do not mind. I know all things are possible, and books outlive us, and books also reach places where we'll never reach. And so if you do not have my book, I would love for you to also order. I'll make sure after this live, I'll give a link where you can be able to order a copy, or you can reach out to me, directly, and I can get you an autographed book. So there's something that I always tell people that I work with, and also those who come and watch me, to pick this and to remember this, that the life that you desire is truly within reach. And that's why we have such conversations, so that if it's a transition that is stopping you from your next level, that you can be able to understand what is a transition and what do I need to do so that I stop, staying in this place where I'm feeling like I'm very stuck. The one thing you should never doubt is that what you desire, and especially if it's in line with God's purpose for your life, it is within reach. And so today we are going to talk about transitions, and we are going to see how transitions are so important in our life story. So again, for those who are new, I have a lot of Chasing Courage talks in my YouTube channel, and please go and watch as many as you can, and especially those in line with where you're struggling or where you want to grow towards. So the Chasing Courage Forum just helps those who are listening to be educated, to be empowered, to be enlightened, so that if I'm telling you that the life that you desire is within reach, then Now you'll be able to learn how to do that and to be able to design and live out a God-approved life. And we do this through training and testimonies, through talks that I usually give once in a while. So like today we are having like a combination because we are going to hear part of the testimony from Nyambura and transitions that she's gone through. And then she's also going to train us on transition. So it's going to be a nice combination and a nice conversational one. Feel free in the comment section to ask questions, to give comments so that I can be able to pass this to Nyambura or she can be able to answer them beyond this conversation. So make sure that you go to my YouTube channel, just type at the Audacity Mentor and you can watch very, very many testimonials and even trainings and talks that I have in there. So I'm becoming bolder. The same way I tell my ladies, become bold, stretch yourself. I'm stretching myself. And now I've moved from road to 200 because I've crashed that. And now I'm road to 300 subscribers. I don't know how long it will take because the other one took so many years to get to 200. But I mean, I saw people responding so well. And so I'm very, very thankful. And I'll be on road to 300 until I crash that goal. So again, just go to at the Audacity Mentor and like and subscribe. I would really love for you to join my community. So good. So let's start now our forum, Chasing Courage. I hope you're settled. I hope you have brought in as many mothers and friends that need to listen to this talk on transitions. As a coach and a mentor, we always use questions, and I've said this before. So one of the questions that I want you to ask yourself throughout as you're listening to Nyambura is, do I navigate transitions with faith or with fear? Because it's so important, the foundation. Where is your starting point? Is it from a place of faith that this I'll be able to navigate this transition well, or is it from a place of fear? Are you scared? And so to help us just move from a place of fear into a place of faith, I always share just a few words from the Bible as we have other people coming in. And when I was wondering what passage am I going to share, the one that came to mind is Mary's story, Mary, the mother of Jesus. So allow me to share um, that small passage. So this is from Luke 1:26 to 38, and I'm just using the message version. So in case you have any other version with you, it's okay. You can go and read there, but allow me to use this one. I really love the beauty of the way the words are in the message version. So this is what it says, that in the 6th month of Elizabeth's pregnancy, God sent the angel Gabriel to the Galilean village of Nazareth to a virgin engaged to be married to a man descended from David. His name was Joseph, and the virgin's name, Mary. Upon entering, Gabriel greeted her. Good morning. You're beautiful with God's beauty, beautiful inside and out. God be with you. She was thoroughly shaken, wondering what was behind a greeting like that. But the angel assured her, Mary, you have nothing to fear. God has a surprise for you. You will become pregnant and give birth to a son and call his name Jesus. He will be great, be called Son of the Highest. The Lord God will give him the throne of his father David. He will rule Jacob's house forever. No end ever to his kingdom. Mary said to the angel, but how? I've never slept with a man. The angel answered, the Holy Spirit will come upon you. The power of the highest hover over you. Therefore, the child you will bring forth will be called Holy, Son of God. And did you know that your cousin Elizabeth conceived a son, old as she is? Everyone called her barren, and here she is, 6 months pregnant. Nothing you see is impossible with God. And Mary said, yes, I see it all now. I'm the Lord's maid, ready to serve. Let it be with me just as you say. Then the angel left her. Now, I know it's not Christmas, so you might wonder, why is this story coming up at this time? But when I was thinking of, like transitions that they just come from nowhere and then they are huge. They have such huge impact. I thought of Mary. And it's generally believed that Mary was around 12 to 16 years because that's around the time people were getting engaged and betrothed during that time. And so she was a young teen. I know our generation and the boomers, we are saying I was a Gen Z that time. She was the Gen Z of that time. It doesn't apply. That statement doesn't apply. But because Kenyans are using it, let's use it. She was the teen during that time. So this is a teenager who's just been given this life-changing news. one of the interesting facts I saw as I was preparing for this is that until the time when we were hearing about Mary, the Nazareth had never been mentioned before. And that was amazing because it was so small, it was so insignificant. Yeah, it wasn't such an important place until God decided that everybody will know that there's a place called Nazareth and there's a young teenager who I'm trusting with a big thing in Nazareth, and she's called Mary. So usually what used to happen that time is people were going through stages. So you get engaged, then you get betrothed, then you get married. So at this time when the angel Gabriel is coming to Mary, she was betrothed to Joseph, and they were just waiting to now have the wedding. So usually betrothal was such a big thing. It wasn't just a casual promise, yeah. And at this time, if you wanted to break your betrothal, it was almost like a divorce. Yeah, you had to go through um, uh, steps like if it's a divorce. So it was a big thing that she was betrothed, and here she's being told that she's going to be pregnant. The other thing I need to say is that the Bible is not ambiguous. Mary was a virgin, and that's why it was a miracle that she carried Jesus, that she was pregnant. But what happened is when Mary was given this news, she was so humble, she was so surprised. The verse that we've read said she was thoroughly shaken. But Gabriel gave her such beautiful words that you're beautiful inside and out. And she was really, in that space. I think all of us would be in a place of shock. But here is the thing, when she was given the news, she was a woman of God. And so when she was told that she, who is a virgin, would bear a son, and she would bear a son for God, she was not surprised because she had read the word of God. And in Isaiah 7:14, it says that the virgin shall conceive and bear a son. But Mary asked a question, but how? Yeah, which is something that, I think all of us and those who do not want to accept that Mary was a virgin who became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit, she asked a logical question, but how? The thing that I want you to carry as we are starting this conversation on transition is that Mary asked this question not from a place of, I am doubtful. She asked this from a place of wonder, like, how can that happen? It wasn't about how for, scratching your head or giving a side eye. It was more, how is this going to be done? And like Zacharias, who is Elizabeth's husband, we talked about Elizabeth at the beginning, who was asking the same of how will the wife be pregnant at this old age. Both of them are old, but he was asking from a place of unbelief. And when I was reading the enduring word, which I put the source there, he was very skeptical. And I think as Kenyans right now, we are also coming from a place of skepticism. Yeah, we've been almost given permission by things that are happening around us to be skeptics. But I hope that even as we talk about transitions, because I think everybody is going through transitions. COVID was a big transition. Some like us closed businesses during because of COVID. We've gone through transitions. But my hope is whatever happens, that you're going to come from a place of, I wonder what God has for me through these transitions. We won't be Zacharias, who was very skeptical. He was not believing that he and his wife at their old age can be able to get a baby. And with such an amazing promise, Gabriel also brought evidence that, listen, your cousin, Elizabeth, she's pregnant, just to show Mary that nothing is impossible with God, because God will absolutely perform what he has said. So I just wanted to encourage you as we are entering this conversation. So as you're listening, just keep asking yourself, when I'm going through a transition, if I'm going through a transition right now, am I operating from a place of faith or from a place of fear? Like, am I so scared about what is going to happen ahead that I'm not listening to and learning from what God would have me learn? Because maybe God wants to grow you. Maybe God wants to elevate you to your next, but you're in this space of such unbelief. And what God did to Zacharias is muted him for the period that the wife was pregnant, because unbelief. So things that I would like you to carry that we can learn from this small passage from Mary, that it's okay to ask questions. She asked questions, but how? But she asked from a place of wonder, like, how will the Lord use this? Like, God, why is this happening to us? Let it come from not a place of disrespect, but from a place of, Lord, you're seeing this, right? like ask, it's okay to ask God, even as you're going through your transitions. Like Mary, let's lean on promises. She was familiar with what God's word said, and she decided to lean on that. So whatever promise you can find in God's word for this moment of whatever transition you're going through, lean on it, hold on to it. And like many of us who may choose to respond in fear, I hope that you will respond in faith. And I know that through the discussion that we are having with Nyambura, you're going to be so encouraged. You're going to learn also, this doesn't just happen to me. I'm not alone in this, that I can appear, I can be on the other side victorious. And the other thing that Mary was encouraged is that Elizabeth, her cousin who was older, was pregnant. And she, at this time, she was 6 months pregnant. She got a baby. Sorry, she was pregnant and she was old. So it's also possible for God to use life transitions. Elizabeth had her transition. Mary had her transition. If you read ahead, you'll read Joseph being told, I know you are betrothed, but you're going to be given the stewardship of Jesus's life while you're on earth. And so all things are possible. So let's be like Mary in whatever transition that we are going through. Mary responded to Angel Gabriel's message with an affirmation of faith. And she said, let it be to me according to your word. So I pray that, like Mary, we will release ourselves for use. We will be vessels that God will use, because when people see our lives and say, even you are able to go through, you're able to navigate that transition and you're standing, that people will glorify God even as they thank him for what he has done in your life. So wherever you're at, whatever it is that you're doing, just know that we all go through transitions. They are normal. Yeah. But it's important for us to be educated about what is a transition and what are some of the things that we can do when we are going through a transition, especially if it's a transition where we are in that place of shock, we are feeling discouraged, we are feeling like we are in despair. As we celebrate when good transitions come, let us also be equipped to today's conversation, what we can do when a transition is, pulling us down. So again, keep asking yourself, do I navigate transitions from a place of fear or from a place of faith? So to carry us through this conversation is my friend Nyambura, and we are going to listen to her in a short while. But allow me to tell you a little bit about Coach Nyambura. So she is on a mission to help and empower other people to live a life of worth. And that's why she then founded an organization called WorthLife Coaching and Consulting, which we'll hear about. And she helps entrepreneurs and leaders create sustainable growth while maintaining balance. And so when she's working with businesses, she provides business training and coaching. She helps entrepreneurs then develop ideas and strategies so that then they're able to build profitable businesses that align with their values and life goals. So she also empowers individuals to gain clarity, achieve balance, and address leadership gaps by taking purposeful actions and developing personal and professional growth strategies. So you're going to see the word training, you're going to see the word leadership a lot, goals, and she'll tell us more about her work so that you understand why she's the best person to handle this conversation. So Coach Nyambura is a certified life transitions and business coach with ICF, with ACC credentials. Now, ICF is one of those bodies, if you want to grow in coaching, it's so important for you to be coached through ICF. And because of that, then she's also a member of the International Coaching Federation. She's a certified ILO Start and Improve Your Business trainer and a certified change management practitioner. So beyond that, she also supports leadership and life transformation by working with global coaching platforms like TMS Thrive. This is an international program that supports pastoral leadership and ministry, and also Map for Life, which is a strategic personal development program that helps clients gain clarity, discover their purpose, and create meaningful life change. So as you can see, Nyambura is very qualified to take us through this. So as her organization, WorthLife, she's been able to do this for over 8 years, and she has hands-on experience with every client relationship. So she's the right person. Now, Nyambura has not worked only 8 years, but her coaching has been for the last 8 years. She'll tell us a little bit more about her and what she does. I'm always, so Nyambura, welcome. first of all.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you so much.
I don't know whether you are feeling like when your bar is being read, you're like, hey. Yeah, but I think it's important for us to celebrate as women, as mothers, what we've been able to achieve, and to also help people know why you're the best person to talk about transitions, not because you're certified to teach
Mm.
transitions, but because your life also kind of helps you, through your transitions, you've been able to navigate that. God has used your own stories to be able to be an encourager in for other people. So, karibu Nyambura. Uh, I know we are friends, so my friends call me Shorty. So in case you say Shorty, it is okay. You are allowed. That's what my friends call me, and feel free when those ones who are joining me and becoming my friends to call me Shorty as well. So welcome, 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 dear. So help us know a little bit more about you beyond, the wonderful things that we've been able to read.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Shoti. It's such a pleasure, a great, great joy to be here today. Indeed, we've talked about coming on Audacity meant time like we have now, and we thank God that finally He has made it to happen. It's just an interesting thing that you have shared about the story of Mary. And I like the way you finished talking about the questions that Mary was asking and encouraging us that we should not mind having all these questions that we ask every day. And maybe just even before I introduce myself, I always say as a coach, I say there's nothing that troubles one like their own thoughts. I think there's anything that troubles somebody, it's their own thoughts because they move with them wherever they go. They never part with them. And the more you're thinking, the more these things disturb you. And so what coaching does, it provides a safe place to interrogate those thoughts, and then you're able to make forward moving movements, decisions. So a pleasure again to be here. You've already introduced me, and you're right. I was looking at that and thinking, really, it's been 8 years. And I think when you're doing something that you love, the time just flies. Like you said, I have been, of course, a professional I've worked for the last 30 years. I realized that this year. It's been 30 years of working, but mostly my work has been with international organizations, NGOs, and development work. By training, I'm actually a development economist, turned now into full-time coaching. And all the years of my profession has been really more about fundraising, resource mobilization, building strategic partnerships, leadership of organizations. So I've dealt a lot with governance issues. I've always been in the governance space in terms of in the organization. I'm usually in the executive director's office or something, communications. So I've moved from one office to another over the many years. So when you talk about transitions, I have made many changes and now finally made the big step to just fully be in coaching. I became a coach more than 8 years ago. And so was doing both coaching and working, like how every good Kenyan has a side hustle. So my coaching was my side hustle for the longest, but it was really my passion. And remember one of my colleagues at that time, she was my boss. She was telling me, when are you thinking of going to fully do coaching? Because every time here in the office, you talk about coaching, you brighten up much more than you do when you're at the office doing other things. So, I mean, it was really a dream for me to fully go into coaching, which I have now fully done from early this year. And it's been very, very exciting. Not that I've not been coaching, I have been. And that's how I've gotten all the credentials from ICF. But now fully, this is what I am doing. And it's been great. I think we will talk a lot more even as I talk about transitions. I do transitions and business coaching as well as training in business. I think maybe I could put it there and then maybe at the end we'll come back to what WorthLife does as an organization.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's important for people to know, when you're doing coaching or you're doing mentoring, a lot of people choose to go into areas where they themselves have gone through the journey. So it's almost like God chose Nyambura. I have many transitions for you to go through because I have a journey ahead for you
Yes.
to be able to guide people. Is there any transitions that you feel you can be able to share with people as part of your testimony, maybe?
Thanks, Wairimu. I think one of the ones that easily comes to mind is not one that is long time ago. Like I have said, because of the different places we work, one moves from one job to the other. But I think in the last 2 years, talking about from 2023 to now, I have gone through several transitions and in very different areas of my life. And I think in 2023, one of the key ones was at that time, I am married. Let me just right on say I am born again. I'm a believer. I am married and I have two children. And they were both, my two children are candidates in 2023. And so one was moving on from high school into university, and the other one was moving from the lower primary to junior secondary. And so that year was a tough one where you're helping children as they're preparing for the national exams. And you know how Kenya is. If you don't pass your national exams, you don't know what to do with yourself. That's the only option. So it was quite a year of working with them and dropping late hours, picking them in school late hours, dropping them early in the morning. So that was quite an interesting one. But at the same year, one of my parents fell ill and was unwell for like 6 months. And there was hospitalization, there was ICU. So at that time, you're balancing home, you're balancing support to parent, you're bringing family together. What can we do? We thank God that the children are able to finish exams and all that. And then in December, we were all together, but late towards the end of that year, we lost our parent. And begin the year again, now it's preparing for burial. So you're having your Christmas that's a bit, whatever, and the New Year. As you're burying a parent, you're thinking, where are the children going into the new year that's coming? They're both going into new institutions. How is that going to look like? And then at the same time, my other parent was also unwell. And so we went on with taking care of this one that was remaining. My mom was still unwell. And then at that particular time, my husband then transitioned himself in terms of work as we're coming into the new year of 2024. And at the same time, for myself as an individual, so what was happening to Nyambura in my workplace, I was also going through transitions. And between 2023 and 2024, I had three bosses. One came in, another one came in, another one came in. And later in 2024, as it began, my husband has transitioned. We've lost my dad. My children have settled now into their new institutions. I was now moved from the office I was in. It was, yes, a promotion. I went to head a department, but again, another transition, learning then to work with a different team and again, and a different boss. So talking about 3 years of having four supervisors. And then later, towards maybe 2-3 months, no, I stayed there 6 months, and then again left the organization and decided, okay, maybe it's best as God would have it. The push in my heart was really to go and do my own, continue on doing coaching full time. And so I transitioned from work. So what am I saying? In a period of 2 years, sorry, I had transitioned work, bosses, my children had transitioned institutions, my husband had transitioned work. And every time you're transitioning, you're learning to start the new thing. And that time, you're also thinking, is this new thing taking off? How is it taking off? It was not planned. It's something that just happened. And so you will see, even as I share Shoti in my presentation, that there are planned and unplanned transitions. And I think this is where the challenges come, because we are so set that we want everything to go in plan. I think the way, I don't know whether it's God who created us that way or it's us who formed an opinion later as we moved on with life, but we are so set with how we do things that when change is introduced, sometimes we find ourselves losing our footing. And I think that is where the challenge always begins. Whereas you may want to see change as a good and positive thing, which it is supposed to be, there are certain times that we doubt. There are certain times when even maybe the change was imposed on us. And so what we want to have conversations about today is whether the change was imposed on you by force or it just fell on you like COVID did on all of us, or it was about time, or you even chose it. There is an adjustment to be done. And many times we find ourselves very stuck, asking questions, wondering, where do I go? And And we may lose focus because of the anxiety, the worry, and the concerns that all that brings. So anyone who is listening to us, as you are probably going through a transition, you know a friend who's going through a transition, or you're seeing things are happening for other people. There's someone you know who's written a book. Someone has gotten a new job. You're only seeing someone on Facebook. Nice things are happening to them. And you're wondering, how come me, nothing ever happens to me? Can I be able to make a leap? Then we also will look at, you can actually make a transition. You can look at what is available for you, and you can make a transition, talk to somebody and see how you can do it.
I've liked something that you've said about there's something about transitions that is almost disruptive by nature. And I think we don't like change because when you have structure, I know I wake up in the morning, the wake up, I brush my teeth, like it's very structured.
Yeah.
But there's something about transition that is so disruptive, whether it's what you're saying, whether it's the by force ones or the happenstance,
Mm,
or maybe it's you
mm,
who's like, it's about
mm,
time. Regardless of the type of transition, something will change. Like, you've given your own, even children just moving from one class to another is a huge deal.
mm,
So a child moving from grade 5 to grade 6, maybe there's not a lot of shaking, but just from grade 6 to grade 7 into now JSS is such the way we carry such a transition is with such, almost scared for our children. And now that you're a mom talking to other moms, the one thing that you've mentioned from the stories that you've given is you're working, there's transitions. You're a mom, transitions with your babies. Your hubby was
mm,
going through a transition.
mm,
As a
mm.
daughter, there were transitions happening. So you've almost, every role that you play, there was a transition happening all at the same time. I don't know whether this is the right time to ask, like, how do you hold it together when, sometimes you go through transition one at a time, you're going through all of them at the
Yes.
same time. Yeah.
Mm.
What made you
It,
stand?
it is amazing because I even did, I think that I was overwhelmed by the fact that there were so many. I think when you go over them yourself, you're like, you mean I went through that? Because finally, as we started, we are in ministry, in church, and as believers, we do ministry. And the day we started a new ministry, is the morning that my mom, now the only parent who was remaining after we lost our dad, that my mom passed away. So Shoti, I was coming from a mortuary to go into a sanctuary to start a ministry on the same day. So how does one come from a sad setting to another one of joy because God has brought a blessing? That is a very tough transition. But and that's why I'm happy that you started off with scripture and reading God's word and hearing the promises that God has for us. Because the things that we look at in our lives and think that they are obstacles, the troubles that we go through, in there lies a seed for what God wants to do for our future. And many times we get so overwhelmed by what is going on that we cannot see what God is doing. So I cannot say it was my own strength. It was just God holding me and my family together, of course, at that time. But also to see the good in what was happening, to say for God to have allowed mom to rest on a day we are starting a ministry, definitely what one thing we knew, that he must be saying, your mom is handing over the baton. Because my parents were very big on starting churches and ministry. And here we were starting one. So for us, it was mom is saying, I have rested, gone to be with the Father, I'm handing over the baton. So the question is, are we able to see the good, the positive, the transformation that can come from going through a transition? And hoping after our conversations today, Shoti, those who will be listening to us and those who will listen to this because it will be recorded and on YouTube, even months and years later, will be able to go through a transition having been transformed, because that is really the goal.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And that's for you what held you through those different transitions. I've noticed something without going into the politics and things that are happening in our country. One of the things I've noticed through comments of people, because as Christians, we will automatically get our strength from God. We will go into the church and ask, our leaders to give us words of encouragement to remain standing through the many transitions. Because I think Kenyans, since COVID, we've been going through. It's almost like every day you're like, I don't even know how this week will be. I can't plan too far ahead. It almost feels that way. People are getting discouraged and they do not want to do what we are saying. Like, it's not so firmly grounded. They are feeling discouraged at this moment. I know you will talk to us as a coach, but for right now, as Nyambura, who's gone through various transitions, how can you encourage that person who is deeply discouraged? Because you've talked about death, you've talked about work, so you've touched income and you've touched love, and those are the things that mostly take people away from God. So how can you encourage somebody who is not seeing God or the good through their transitions?
One of the things that I would encourage them about is that on our own, we have no strength. If you're going to depend on your human nature and your own abilities, that is not going to help or support you because we are weak in our own nature. But to remember that there is a God who created you, who brought you into this earth. Sometimes I say to myself, I am a certain age, 40, 50. I've reached this far, not because of my own strength, but God has found it fit for me to be alive this day. That in its own is something to take cognizance of and to say, there must be a God for me to have gotten this far. And so to then look unto that God and say, why would you have me in this space? And I remember as you started us off, you talked about Mary asking questions. Yes, she was not asking from the point of disbelief, but God understands when we ask questions. And so I would encourage this person, you have your questions. Yes, ask God the question. Why would you have me alive now? I do not feel like like you're there because God is there. In that quiet moment of you asking those questions, He hears you. But then again, to say you need to reach out. Reach out to someone you know who is a believer, someone you know who can possibly encourage you one way or the other. As we are speaking now, of course, one of the things we want to tell you is that God loves you. God cares about you. God has a purpose for your life. And when God has a purpose for your life, He will fulfill it. All He needs you to do is to yield to Him and to give yourself to Him in the sense that, Lord, whatever it is that you want me to do, help me to do it. Bring someone my way who will lead and guide me. Is there a church close to you? Is there someone you know who trusts and believes in God? If you can access that person, say a prayer. Even if you can't access them, say a prayer alone to yourself. God hears. Even if you're alone, God hears. But do not despair. If you can look back to a God who has kept your life to this day, He has a reason and He has a purpose. And I hope that would encourage the person.
Thank you, Nyambura, for that encouragement. So whether you're watching this live or the replay from a place of faith or from a place of discouragement, there'll be something. Just hold on. By the end, you'll be able to learn what transitions are and how you can be able to navigate them. And pick those, the prayer, the support, so important. Ask questions. It is okay because we all go through these things. As you've heard from Nyambura, she's gone through so many. You didn't even add COVID. It was first COVID, and then other things happen, and in succession. So you're not alone. If you're going through this place where you're almost even hiding from your family and from your friends, you're not alone. You're not alone. Allow me to acknowledge two friends who have joined us already and written comments. Anne Jenga, who is how we met. That's She's the one who
Yes,
made us
it's our
meet.
link.
Yes. So thank you, Anne, for joining us. And there's also your friend, Freshia Kimochu, who is very excited to join us. So thank you, ladies. And please share the link so that other people can come in. So we invited you not just because you're a friend and not just because you've gone through transitions, but because you are a transitions coach. So I feel it's important for us to get a beginning, share some things from your expertise so that now we can start learning. So when I'm saying I'm going through a transition, it's because you have also taught us what they are.
All right. So I would like to share my screen so that we are here together. And Shoti will confirm that you are seeing it.
Yes, we can.
And it is on presentation mode, I trust.
Yes, now it is.
Okay. So we're talking about chasing courage. And we will see what I mean here by courage. And so that we see how do we thrive through transitions. Shoti has been saying we will talk about transitions, how you go through them. And one of the things I want to encourage us is not just to go through a transition, just don't go through the change. If you can thrive, not just in it, but through it, from beginning of it to the end, that you can thrive. And what I'm then also emphasizing on is that at the end of that transition, are you still the same person? Has something about you changed? Is there a transformation? Let's talk to you where I need to clarify or something. Please just feel free to interject.
I will.
One of the things I want us to look at, and this is key for us to be able to understand everything I'll talk about today, is what is change. And it can look obvious. What does Nyambura mean by asking what is change? But I want us to be very clear that people use the word transition a lot, but really transition is a part of a change. So change has 3 stages. When you're moving from how things currently are, which is the orange in current, and then you have the middle, which is the transition stage, into the future stage, how things will be. So when things are this way now, but tomorrow they're in another way, the between today and tomorrow is the transition period. So transition is moving from one state to another. So the current state, the transition state, and the future stage is what is all change. So when you hear me using the word change, I will be meaning all through the whole transition period from start to the end. I hope that clarifies. So because we tend to use change and transition interchangeably. So the facts about change, and I alluded to some of this in my testimony, is that change happens in different places. So where? It can be in the home, your family, can be in an institution where you work, for example. It can be the community, in your school, in the church, in the country. Change happens anywhere and everywhere. It is externally motivated. It can also be internally motivated. Basically meaning it can be a change that has just come from out there, like COVID did. Very good example. We had nothing to do with it. Sisi hatukuwa tunajua those manenos, it just came. And then it can also be internally motivated. It can be a change from within. Internally can even be one that you've chosen to do. I have chosen to, let me change jobs. I've chosen to move from one job to another. I've chosen to move from one home to another. I've chosen to relocate from Kenya to Australia. So it can be internally motivated. Then also change can happen when you expect it, you have planned it, you're anticipating it, or when you've not anticipated, expected, or planned. When it is planned, it's like a mother. They will expect that they will have a baby. That's why we ask, when are you expecting? So she may be expecting the delivery, but probably she wasn't expecting that she will be pregnant. So it can be one that you expect, after 9 months, the baby will come. But I didn't expect I would have conceived. So I hope you can see the difference. There's one that is unexpected, like the conception. The conception you may not have expected. You're like, oh, wow, we realized we were pregnant. But then now, of course, after the 9 months or at the period that is expected, then you deliver the baby. So it can be expected, it can be unexpected, it can be unplanned. Like again, we keep saying COVID was totally unplanned. What changes are you going through that are unplanned? Have you had to be laid off? There was a lot of laying off with the funding situation that was going on internationally. Unexpected changes in losses of job. Again, a change can be easy, it can be hard. Where we say easy, it's not necessarily that it's easy, but you may find it easy because it is one you're familiar with. It can be just moving from, of course, like, let's say you're moving from point A to point B. When I go to town, I've transitioned to the position I was at home, I went to town. Some transitions we don't even think about them. We do them so easily. We don't think about them. When I'm crossing a road, I've actually transitioned. I've moved from this state. I was on this side of the road. I went to the other. But there are other transitions that are hard, very, very hard. When you're telling me to leave work and start afresh, to start a business, you're asking me to relocate, you're asking me maybe then to see my children off for those who are now beginning to have empty nests. You're asking me to take my child to kindergarten the first time they are joining primary school, or you're asking me to take my child to boarding school. Some changes, we can consider them hard. Maybe because we've never gone through them, or maybe because of the association that they bring. When you're holding on to your child and you're feeling, no, I really don't want to release them. So they can be easy, they can also be hard. Now, there is a dichotomy then on change, where some of changes are those that we know, they're well structured, they are proven, they are controlled, and they are certain. Take an example of a child who goes to school. We know if the child was in the 844 system, which is now being phased out, this child will do 8 years of primary school, they'll do 4 years of high school, they'll do 4 years of university, structured. Now that system has changed. It is CBC. So there is the years that they are doing, 6 years, like Shoti alluded earlier. And when you do your 6 years, you go to junior secondary in 7, 8, and 9. And then now there's going to be a 10, 11, 12. It is structured. Now, 844 has been proven because we've gone through it. CBC is still to be proved because the children have not finished. So there's a dichotomy. There are those that are structured, there are those that are proven, there are those that are controlled. Controlled being when a child is within a controlled environment of a school. So whatever changes they are going through, whether it's from grade 1 to K2, is controlled. You have your 3 terms, then you go to the next level. You have your 4 years, you go to the next level. So it's controlled. So those changes are controlled, and things that are controlled, they are structured. We tend to be certain about them, and so we expect them. We know how they will happen. But then there are those, on the other hand, that are unknown. They're not structured, they're not yet proven, they're not controlled, and they're uncertain. I would dare say that right now CBC is not being proven, for example. So we are waiting to see, so what happens after people finish grade 9? So it causes a little bit of anxiety. And I think if you've seen in many schools, there are parents who are even moving their children and taking them to the IG system because they're unsure. So when things are unknown, they're unstructured, they're unproven, they're uncontrolled, it creates a lot of anxiety. It creates a lot of worry, concern, and you're fearful. I think Shoti took us through how Mary was afraid. The aspect of fear is very, very common when you talk about transitions because you don't know the next state. We talked about the present state and the future. The future state that is now the unknown, that unstructured, causes a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. So we're talking about change. Uncertainty is one of the most common feelings. And uncertainty comes in many forms, bringing in anxiety, bringing in fear, bringing in stress, impatience, anger. You're unhappy, you're unsettled. You're wondering what will happen. How are we going to do this? We're worrying about the future. Why? Because circumstances have changed. What you are used to, what was your norm, what you appreciated, maybe even you learned to love, maybe even at the state you are in, earlier on you did not like it, but you got used to it. So and that is where there's this common term, comfort zone. It became your comfort zone. You were comfortable with it. You didn't like it at first, but with time you learned how to cope with it and you settled. Now you're being told to move again from that state into another. It causes a lot of unhappiness. You can be very unsettled, and even anger can begin to come in. Why? Like, why are we always being told to move? Why are we always being told to change? Why are we always, so it can cause a lot of uncertainty. Now, I know when Shoti invited me, she said, Nyambura, we have this group of mothers that are joining. They may join, they may listen later. And I wanted to just take this slide to just see what are the changes as moms we go through. And this can also be maybe in homes where it's dads taking care of the children, probably, or just family, as you think of family. Of course, mothers, there is the change that I talked about earlier. When you're pregnant and you're having the birth of the children, there's a physical, emotional, and psychological changes that are associated with that. When you have a newborn, there is the demand of taking care of your newborn child. And that demand comes to things like you're lacking sleep at night, You have to establish a routine. I remember when our daughter was born, someone after 2 months met me and said, oh, I trust the child already now is a routine. And I looked at her and wondered, have you ever had a child? You know, because they expected that in 2 months, I should have made my child have a routine. And I was struggling with her particularly. I think it took us a bit longer. So that already becomes a challenge for a mother because there's change. This new child that has come, we're having to reestablish routines that we had already set earlier. What about the milestones as a parent you go through? Your child is going through different developmental stages. And either they are starting school, they're now in adolescence, they are teenagers, the teenagers have their own challenges. Then there is the challenge of independence when you send out this child probably to university, or even when you send them out to boarding school, they are now very independent. They can do their own shopping, they go to town, take their bus and go to school with their suitcase and everything. So they let him go. So on the one hand, when the child is younger, you're managing to control them. You tell them do this, they should do it because they're small, they should listen. As they get into adolescence, they now are saying, Mom, why are you sending me upstairs? I was just there just now. They're answering back. Things are changing. Then after some time, they are now independent. They're saying, no, Mom, you want to send them somewhere. They're like, no, me, I had other plans. Or today we are all going to visit Shosho. They're like, no, me, I had the plans with my friends. So life is changing around you. What about your work and career? So you're trying to balance out different things within your work and your career. And there is the changes that probably are coming on. Maybe you've been moved from one office to another. Maybe you've been moved from one city to another, or even one country to another. Or you're not working. Maybe for now you have decided to stay home and take care of the children. What changes are you going through as you're staying home, as you're working there in the house? Are some of the children now old enough to allow you to have more time that maybe you're thinking, now the children are all grown. What do I do with myself? Do I start a business? Do I take a part-time job? How do I occupy my time? And I'd already gotten used to the children taking all my time. Or you've decided to homeschool the children. And so now, as you're homeschooling them, routines are changing because as they grow older, maybe the work increases of homeschooling, or you move them now from homeschooling. Some of them are back to school. There are those you've been left with. Things are changing in the home. Or you're trying to manage the work-family dynamics. Maybe because you've moved and where you live is far, now you're having to wake up earlier so that you can either take a matatu earlier or you can drive into town earlier. Career and work changes always affect the family. Another change could be relationships. Maybe your relationship with your family members could be a relationship you have in a partner you're doing business with, or and even this business could be just ladies, the way we say, let's go into business. Maybe we can be selling shoes, we can be selling clothes together. Are things changing? Or something has changed and now you're a single parent. Maybe your marriage relationship has ended, you're a single parent, or originally you have been a single mother and there is relationship issues even in that situation. What about the empty nest which I alluded to earlier? Children are leaving home and finally you're being left yourself and your spouse. And now you have to redefine who you are because a lot of your relationship has depended on the children. Children have always been around you. So even your conversations have always been about the children. Now they are gone. And there is a big, big change and a big, big emptiness. So that's what formed the word empty nest. What about lifestyle changes, adjustments to aging, to your health? And here when we talk about health, ladies, the first thing that comes to our mind is menopause as we are aging. Your personal goals, even as your life is changing, what you're beginning to think, maybe have I planned for retirement? When am I going to retire? What will I do when I retire? Or I'm beginning to realize my bones are not what they used to be. Or I used to be able to do a 10-kilometer jog. Now I can't even do 5. Your health can begin to change and you're wondering, what does this mean? Changes to your personal goals could be related to your age and you're thinking, I had wanted to do this by the time I'm 50. Now 50 is next year. What do I need to do? I remember having a client who suddenly was told she's been given 1 year to retire. Incidentally, the organization had not realized that she's turning 60 that year. And so they realized they could not give her just 6 months to retire. So they told her, okay, we will allow you, you will retire at 61. And so we spent time for her to begin to prepare for her retirement because she had only 1 year to go. And it was a very interesting conversation that we would have every time we would meet. And to safely say, she was able to transition well, and she was able to prepare for a transition through the coaching that we did. What about grief and loss? Emotional processing of losing your loved one, like I talked about earlier, when we had to mourn the loss of our mother, and at the same time, we're supposed to be happy that something is moving in our lives, and we've started a new ministry. Grief and loss, and it's not just loss of loved ones, it can be any kind of loss. I remember one time our car was broken into when we went to visit a hospital. And coming back, you're wondering, okay, I can't find something I'd left in the car. What had then you realize the car door had been interfered with. And you're taking yourself to the police station to report, and you're thinking, but why would somebody do that? You really feel your space has been, someone has come into your space and you're not happy with that. So loss can be of anything. It doesn't have even to be a relative or a loved one. When you lose something, there is something that happens there, and there is a change that you will feel. So all these changes bring about feelings of uncertainty and anxiety. But the good news that we are bringing to us today is that all these changes also offer opportunities for growth and for transformation. And that's why we are here today. Can we be able to see, despite all the anxiety, all the concerns, all the fears that transition and change bring, can we be able to see that there can be a good out of them, that we can grow, and there can be a transformation in us and around us? So we want to just understand change and transition. And of course, like I said earlier, transition is signifies change from a past state to a future state. So there is that shift. And those changes can be challenging, as we have said, but transition and recognizing that you're in a transition is the very, very first step towards your growth. Just taking cognizance of that, wait 1 minute, I'm in a transition. Because sometimes we go through life and we are thinking things are being done to us, or things are just happening to us. And we don't take time to realize, wait 1 minute, actually, this is a transition. And acknowledging that a transition can cause you a lot of anxiety. It can cause you a lot of fear, so that you begin to understand yourself. You can be saying, oh, I'm taking my child to high school, or I'm taking my child to boarding school. And then it starts stressing you. But you're not taking time to realize, by the way, it's a transition. This child has been home with me. It's not just a matter of preparing them, buying for them shopping and suitcase and putting them in the car, taking them to school. It's a whole change that even this person, this child you've been having at home, will not be home for a while. They will not be coming home in the evening at 4 from school and you give them 4 o'clock tea. They will be in school throughout. So recognizing that there is that change that has happened is your first step towards growth. And then one thing that I want us to remember all through today's conversation is that our growth in your mindset, our growth mindset is what will open that new opportunity. Our growth mindset. Can we move away from saying it was done to me, it happened to me? Yes, it happened to me. And we are not condoning or saying that sometimes when people force changes on others, or when people don't treat you well, that is why the change happened, that what they did is good. We are not condoning that. We are saying that now that it has happened and you're in that state of transition, wear a mindset of growth. And we are going to look a little bit more about that. So, why, I know one of the things that Shorty asked me is, Nyambura, why does somebody need a transition coach? Is it possible for us to kind of like get it a bit more clear? So a transition coach is your partner through life's major changes. And I'm using the word partner here intentionally. The International Coaching Federation, which regulates coaching internationally, and of which I am a member and a certified coach, defines coaching as a partnership between the client and the coach. And that partnership is one in which the coach takes the client through a thought-provoking and a creative process. Thought-provoking being one that I'm talking to you and kind of making you think through. And that's why I was saying recognizing your transition can only come you through thinking about it. And in that partnership, as I'm asking you those thought-provoking questions and being creative in the way we are having our conversation, I inspire you to maximize your personal and your professional potential. So what I wanted to bring out here is that your coach is your partner. They are not your supervisor, they're not your boss, they are not the to tell you person. It's your partner, working with you hand in hand. So what does the transition coach do? You're going through a transition, there's a change going on in your life. It could be any of those that we've described or any other that I did not mention that you're aware of or that you're already going through. I'm hoping as we are having this conversation, you're starting to think, oh, could I be going through a transition? Which transitions am I going through? So that you can even begin to apply these things that we are saying. So your coach will help you gain clarity and confidence during your major life transition changes. Because as you sit and talk with them, and which coaches, one of the tools they use is questioning, questioning, questioning. We ask you thought-provoking questions that get you to think. And so as I'm asking you the questions and talking to you about, and you're telling me about those things, you're gaining clarity and you're beginning to be confident, like, oh, you mean, oh yeah, by the way, how come I didn't realize? Those are the things we hear a lot from the clients. How come you mean, oh yeah, you're right. You know, I had not even thought about it. So you begin to gain clarity and you begin to gain confidence that, by the way, yeah, even actually another friend of mine, there's a time a friend of mine even had gone through that. And you begin to realize it's not even just you. Also, our coach helps you develop personalized strategies that will help you set and achieve your goals. Because someone who does not have goals is someone who's just living. You're just living, there's nowhere you're going. But if you can set goals within that transition period that you're in, then you'll be able to set goals that will help you achieve what it is that you can achieve now that this change has happened. Again, a coach will help you navigate the uncertainty. They will help you overcome obstacles. So they become your support system. They're there with you, supporting you, asking you, so what obstacles do you think you're going to face as you go through this transition? So they help you with dealing with that uncertainty. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure how I expect that this will happen. I'm afraid this will happen. So you begin to deal with those obstacles. And I ask you, so how do you think you can overcome that? And as you answer my questions, you begin to realize, okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Again, a coach begins to help you sharpen your skills. As they are talking to you, you're refining your focus. You're relooking at your situation. You're developing resilience because you're like, I can make it. You're beginning to adapt because you're seeing, okay, the situation actually is one that I can overcome. You begin to unleash your full potential. If you're wondering how will I survive with this child going to boarding school? It's the child, maybe I'm a single parent, this is the only child I have in the house. What will I do with my time after they go? Because all my time in the evening is we sit, we do homework. And so when we begin to talk and I'm asking you, what obstacles do you think at you? Or maybe when they go, I'm wondering how my evenings, how I'll spend them. But we begin to talk and you begin to develop things you can do in the evening. And you begin to say, oh, so I can adapt to the new circumstance. That is what coaching does for you. And then finally, there is a transformation. Because as you're unleashing your full potential, strengths that you did not know you had, as they are coming out, you begin to be empowered to reach new heights. And that transformation within yourself and within your circumstance is what helps you for your long-term success. Don't worry about this if it's still looking a bit fuzzy. As we go on, you will understand a bit of these things that I'm talking about. So Shoti talked to us about chasing courage. And if you saw the first slide, I had this person who was running as they were chasing courage. And we are saying it takes courage for you to go through a transition. It takes courage. I'm not here as a coach to tell you that this is easy. And I'm not trying to belittle whatever transition that you are in, you're going through. No, it takes courage. But I want to give us some 3 quotes that probably will help us and will encourage us. We talked about fear a lot. And guess what? Courage is not the absence of fear. For you to be courageous, there needs to be some fear there. Otherwise, that's not courage. So courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to push on in the face of it. So that you're fearful, but you're saying, despite my fear, I shall push on. Now that is courage. And that is James Boyce who said that. Eddie Rickenbacker said that courage is doing what you are afraid to do. There can be no courage unless you're scared. You need to have that fear. And so when you're afraid to do something and then you do it, you're courageous. You're courageous. You're doing it in spite of your fear. And Andrew Jackson said that courage is fear that has said its prayers. I love that one. Fear that has said its prayers. And so we are fearful and we go before the Father and we say, Lord, give me the courage. Give me the courage to do what I need to do. And the God gives you the courage to do it. So do not think of courage as being there's no fear. That one day I'll wake up, that even us who coach on transitions, are you asking, Nyambura, do you ever get afraid? Of course I do. I get afraid. How will I go through this transition? How will you manage? But courage is overcoming all of this or taking action. Maybe better put, courage is taking action in the midst of fear. So how do we begin to embrace change now that we have seen what courage does? And I thought the best way to help us remember these things is to just use the word courage itself as an acronym. And so we will look at spelling the word courage, 7 things that would help us when we're talking about embracing change. Now, when I'm saying embracing change, I want to be very clear. I'm saying embrace the fact that you're in that state of transition. Embrace. And Shoti, I want to be very clear here because sometimes someone can say, is Coach Nyambura saying that when somebody now pushes me out of my job, for example, I should just embrace them, they did a good thing? That's not what I'm saying. Some things that are beyond your control, leave them. Because if you are pushed out of your job, that is beyond your control. What is within your control is what you do after that. And that's what we are addressing. So what do you do with that state of change? And for me, your mindset is very, very critical. And so when I'm talking about spelling courage, that acronym, I want you to think about mindset. If you look down on the right, bottom right, I'll put there mindset with a bulb because it's about your mind. What is your mindset? And we need to have a growth mindset, as I said earlier. So in your mindset, have confidence, believe in your ability to adapt and to succeed. As you're beginning, we said you must recognize you're in transition. So you've recognized, this is a transition. Or I've just lost my job. So I'm in a transition of thinking, what next? So I must believe I have the ability to adapt and to succeed and to tell yourself, even this I can do. Remember we said you don't have to miss fear. Fear will be there, but you're still saying, I have the ability to adapt and to succeed. So have confidence for the C. For the O, be optimistic. Remain positive. Have a positive outlook towards the transition. Say that I am sure. And this is where us believers, it really helps because we know that God has a reason for everything. He allows things to happen to us. And so you stay positive and saying that even during this transition, my God is still God. He knew I would go through it. He knew I would face it. And so be optimistic. Have a very positive mindset. U is for understanding. Begin to grasp the reason behind the change. Again, we said, even if you've been pushed out, or it was imposed on you, or it was unplanned, begin to understand what that transition is. Because it is when you understand it, what is it looking like? What is it making me have to do? How am I reacting to it? What does it mean for me? What is changing? Who is changing? And that's why maybe I can take a short pause here and say in institutions sometimes, you find that organizations are making changes and they are not informing their staff, and becomes very worrying. That's what we call change management, because I'm also a change management practitioner. So when you're going through change, you need to alert people, this is changing, this will happen. So understanding the change becomes a very key thing in somebody being able to adjust to that change. So for yourself, whether it was imposed on you or not, or whether it's something you've chosen to do, you need to be able to understand what does it entail, what does it mean, where am I going, how is it affecting me? So begin to understand it and grasp the reasons behind it. R is for resilience. You need to be able to bounce back. There'll be setbacks. Remember, we talked about fear. We talked about the circumstances that will make you wonder, now, what does this mean? Maybe it's taken me back so many, I feel like I've gone back so many kilometers. Now I had made such improvements. Now I'm back, resilience. Believe you can bounce back and do so with determination. A is for awareness. We want you to have awareness, be alert, be observant, and this will help you even with understanding. Be observant. Be observant on how you're reacting to it. Be observant on how you're acting. How are you acting because of that transition? And then how are you reacting to it? Be self-aware. Self-awareness helps a lot even with the healing. If it's caused you a lot of pain, it helps you a lot even in knowing what steps to take next. Aware, because it is your life. I cannot, even for me as a coach, when I come and we sit down together with you, I will have to ask questions that will help me help you be aware of what you're going through. It is when I know what you're going through that we can be able to work together. So self-awareness is very, very key. And then guiding. And this, in case aspect of guiding, is with regard to you guiding your own transition. So you set clear goals for yourself. And I'm talking about guiding in the sense that the transition is yours. You must own it. It is yours. So you take control and you take the wheel. You're the one guiding that transition. You're the one running with it. You cannot let other people lead you in that transition. The transition is yours, so own it. And then in that spirit of owning it, then take charge of the journey that you take with that change and that transition. When you own something, then you empower yourself to have control over it. So E is for empowerment, taking charge of that journey, taking charge of that transition. When you do these things and you sit down with a coach or sit down with somebody else who will work with you, then you will find your mindset is so key in being able to embrace change. So that's where courage comes in. To do all of this, when you're in the middle of something that has disrupted your life, is not something that you'll do without fear. Fear will be there, but take courage and take that step. I've put scripture here, and I really love Romans 8:28, because it says we know that in all things, people say that we know all things, but the Bible says we know that in all things God works. It's not the things that work, it's God. We know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, those who've been called according to his purpose, in all things. So whatever it is that you are going through, God is working. It may be planned, it may be unplanned, but God is working. And what he's working for is his purpose. So ask yourself, what is God's purpose for my life? Bringing us back to the question Shorty asked me, should there be someone here who's feeling very discouraged, who's feeling very down, who's wondering what next? God has a purpose. And the Bible is very clear about that. That in all things, whatever circumstance you go through, God will use that circumstance to work it out for your purpose. Jeremiah was a prophet. And in Jeremiah 18, the word of God says, but the pot he was shaping from the clay was mud in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as seemed best to him. And then the word of the Lord came to me, that is Jeremiah saying, he said, can I not do with you, Israel, as the potter does, declares the Lord? Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, Israel. So Jeremiah was used by the Lord to send a message to the children of Israel, saying that like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand. And I'd like us to think about those words and say that even as we go through whatever we go through, what we are now calling a change, we're calling a transition. It is God who using that to transform us, to form us in one way or the other for his purpose, like we read in the book of Romans. So we are not saying, yes, we will hide in where we say and say, yeah, it is okay. God, it is God, God wants it, it's God's will. No, we are not hiding behind it is God's will. Yes, it is God's will, we agree. But we are acknowledging, we are firmly acknowledging that I am a child of God. And whatever happens to me or God allows for me to go through, he has a purpose. And that should give me enough strength, even within fear, to say, I will then take courage and take the next step. And God, help me take that next step to walk in what is your purpose, to walk in what you want me to become. Because like clay in the hand of the potter, the Lord is forming you into what is best for him and for the purpose for which he created you. I think I cannot belabor that enough. So I want us to look at this is more like the second part of my conversation. My first part was really just to help us understand what is transition and to also understand why do you need a transition coach and to understand that your mindset is very critical, very, very critical if you're going to go through a transition and go through it successfully. But then to also say that we are not just going through transition. We want to go through transition and be transformed in the process. If I can come out on the other end, a grown person, a person with who has developed, who has unleashed their potential, who is, you're looking back and saying, before I went through this, I was a different person, but this experience has changed me. Then we know that God is working in you and has worked through you and allowed what you've gone through to be a point of change, a point of no return. You're not the same again. That is what we want to achieve, that from change, it can be a process of transformation. So in this particular case, I like using acronyms because people will remember. So I'm going to use the word change to just talk to us about how can we go through a transition and come out transformed. That is the second part. How can we go through a transition, which is what we are calling change, and go out of it a transformed person. And using the word change, we will have C for circumstances. We'll look at what that is. H is harnessing your strengths. A is adapting. N is grasping those new opportunities. Don't let them pass you by because they are there. And then G is for growth. And E is to evaluate. Look back and evaluate. Let's look at this word change, one letter at a time. And so under circumstances for C, the question we're asking is, what has changed? What has changed? Remember we talked about you need to know what the change is when we're talking about courage. So what has changed? What is your new reality? How has this reality affected you and those around you? What is your focus? What is your focus? You remember in COVID, our new reality was like, oh my goodness, we cannot go out. Oh my goodness, we have to be in masks. I can't shake other people's hands. I cannot go for dinners anymore. All the restaurants are closed. These are the things we're talking about. You wake up and you realize, oh my goodness, with this new change, this is what it means. So what are your circumstances? Then what is your focus? In COVID, and I'll use COVID because for me, it is so universal that I think everybody will understand. Our focus, I think, at that time was, oh, now we are all going online, and we all learned how to do online things because we could no longer shake our hands. I remember many people were going shopping, and you'd go shopping once a month because you don't want to interact with too many people. So your focus was so much on how to keep yourself from getting the infection of the disease, the virus. So what is your focus in the transition you're going through? What are your fears? What are your concerns? What are your joys? What are you celebrating? What actions are you taking? And what reactions do you have? We all react to change differently. We all react to change. If I could use the example of loss, you've seen in a family when they lose a parent, all the children react differently. Why? Because each child had a kind of like different relationship with their parent. So we all react to change differently. Even one change will not affect all of us the same. Where is this change leaving you? What now is your new state? Remember, we had the current state, we're going through a transition, and then we have the future state. So now that transition has happened. Where has it left you? Is it left you jobless? Has it left you with more than you intended to have? Maybe it's a mother who thought she was having one child and suddenly realized they are twins. So it leaves you overwhelmed. Where has change left you? And what are you doing about it? What are you doing about where it has, what that circumstance, what are you doing about it? A lot of it, maybe you'll tell me, Nyambura, there's nothing I'm doing because I'm already so overwhelmed, I'm even lost. That's something you're doing about it, you're lost. So what are you doing about it? Where are you? Ask yourself that. What are my circumstances? And this is what we are calling self-awareness. But in that self-awareness, I want to again go back. And every time I'll try to relate this to what I feel God would be saying to you at that time, is that He has a purpose for your life, even in that circumstance. Remember, we're talking about your mindset and keeping it positive. Know that God has a purpose for your life in that circumstance. As you're getting this self-awareness, as you're bringing out all these feelings and you're owning them, know that God has a purpose for your life. And so what is God's purpose for you in the circumstances of the transition you could be in right now? What do you think God's intent is with it? So those are your circumstances. Let's look at H. H is about harnessing your strengths. And when you're talking about strengths, you're talking about the abilities that you have, your gifts, and realizing that those are your own. They are yours. They are yours to own, and you should celebrate them. We sometimes forget that we have strengths and we have skills. And when we go through transitions, we are so concerned with what is going on, and we almost have a pity party, oh, it has happened to me. And we forget we are gifted people. I can actually wake up and do something. So what strengths do you have that you could use in your new reality? Focus on those. Focus on those strengths. So it's talking about taking some stock. Do not focus on what you don't have or what you think others have or they're doing better in. And sometimes we tend to do that yeah. Now we are all told to go home in our department. And maybe at least so and so, hey, then they have a side hustle. They have a fallback plan. Now me, I don't even have even a goat or a sheep or a cow I can milk. I have nothing. You begin to think the other person is better off than you. And you forget to look inward and say, I am talented. If I was doing that job, isn't there something I already know? If I had been employed, definitely there's some skills that I had. How can I use those to do something? So what resources or strengths are within your reach that you can use? Some of them are people. So what is your social capital like? Who are the people you know? I know there is this thing in Kenya, I know so and so. Not quite that way, but maybe is there someone you know that you can reach out to? What is your intellectual capital like? The knowledge that you have, the ideas. For goodness sake, you had been working maybe 2 years, 3 years. There is something you know. You just need to look inwardly. Are you able to learn? Can you begin to self-develop yourself? Nowadays, I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of online. There are so many new courses, and some you don't have to pay for. Can you begin to take those? It's not just about money. And sometimes we think I do not have money, so I can't even move. It's not always about money. What are the things that are non-financial that you can say are strengths that you have? So again, it's an issue of self-appraisal. We saw self-awareness, we're talking about self-appraisal. God has placed resources within you and within your reach, around you, around your circumstances that you can tap into and that you can use. So ask yourself today as you go through the transition you are in, which resources can you draw from and use as your strengths? Which strengths can you harness at this particular time? So when we are talking about resources, I want us to look at 4 options here. And these are doors. And the ones that are red are closed doors. They're not available. So door number 1 is what we used to be and we are able to do and still can. What we used to be able to do and we can still do it. So that door is still open. Before this change, before I lost my job, for example, allow me to use that as the example. Before that change of losing work, I was able to do something. I was able to do my courses online. I was able to access a certain training, and I can still do it. The fact that I've lost my job doesn't affect this because I've been doing it from the house. Or before I lost my job, for me personally, before I changed over to full-time coaching, I was coaching. So I told myself after I left work, I can still continue coaching. So what is it that you are doing that you can still continue doing? That's an open door. But the second one is not open. What you could not do before and you still cannot do, that you have no control over. You couldn't do it before, you still cannot do it. So even the transition, there's nothing you can do about it. The third door again is closed. What you used to be able to do and now you cannot do it. Maybe before the transition, you could be able to do something. Maybe when you are probably working, you are able to, now that you are in town or you are doing the office or whatever, there's an engagement you could have or an opportunity that was available for you, but because now you're not working, that opportunity is not there. So that's a closed door. But there is another open door, number 4, of what you could not do before, but now you can. Now, guess what? If you've lost a job, you could not do other work, but now you have all the time. You can do it. So as you develop new ideas of things that you can do, you now have all the time to do it. So what is it you could not do? I could not do my job and at the same time sell merchandise, for example. But now that I don't have a job, I have all the time to sell merchandise. Or I couldn't do a training, or I couldn't drop my children from in school in the morning because in the morning I had these things to do. So now I can do it. So look at your open doors. These are the resources we're saying. As you're looking about your strengths, don't look at the other person at what they have. Look at yourself and recognize. You remember we talked about self-awareness? Recognize those things that are closed doors, the number 2s and 3s, and appreciate the number 1 and 4 that are still open doors. Those are the strengths that you can take advantage of. So Alexander Graham Bell said that when one door closes, another door opens. But we so often look so long and regretfully upon the closed door, the number 2 and 3, that we do not see the ones that open up for us, the number 1 and 4. And that's where we tend to get stuck. And guess what? That is now the place where now coaches are helping you to uncover when you sit. When you ask me, why do you need a transition coach? This is one of the best places that the coach will help you get unstuck. Because we get so stuck, we see our mind is just here because of the pain, the fear, the anxiety that's overshadowing us, that we cannot see that door 1 and 4 are open. And we are so focused on door 2 and 3. So focus on what you have. Don't focus on what you've lost. Don't focus on door 2 and 3 that cannot open. Don't focus on what you've lost. Focus on what is at hand. What do you have? Because it is what you have that you can use to move forward. All right, then A is adapting to your new reality. And adapting, I have put like about 4 A's that will help us see what it means to adapt. We talked about accepting what has happened or acknowledging it has happened. So acknowledge what has happened, and the reality in it. And let me tell you, Shoti, many of us stay here for long. We stay in that we are, we can't believe, and it is necessary. It's a part of loss because, like, for example, when you've lost a job or an opportunity, it could even be something like you've applied for a visa, for example, you couldn't get it and all that. we stay there in the pain and feeling very bad and feeling, the heartache and we stay there, but acknowledging, we are not belittling what you've gone through. We are not belittling the transition that you're having to go through now. But we are saying acknowledging it is a very big step to moving forward. Then second, appreciate that God has a reason for the experience and he will reveal his purpose to you. Then stop focusing then on the negative. You see, like we talked about those doors that were closed, stop focusing on the negative. I can't now do this. Oh, now this is what me, everybody's talking about me. Now I am so embarrassed. Now who can I go to? Now this, and begin to build on the positive. Remember we talked about mindset with a bulb? Positive thinking. And then accept that this is your new reality. This is where you are. It's not anywhere else. This is where you are. This is where the transition has found. This is what is going on in your life. Accept it. And then begin to adjust your sales. Adjust what you talk about it. Adjust your actions. Adjust what you begin to believe. Learn what is new. Learn the new. What does it mean? If people Google a lot, what does this mean for me? If it is an illness in a family, you're now transitioning to taking care of your elderly parents. As you get to 40, they always say you will be taking care of your elderly parents. This is a new reality. A transition into now all of us are having to take care of this parent, our financial resources, our social time, everything. When you're a caregiver, your social life even stops. So your new reality, begin to learn, what does it mean to take care of an ailing parent? What does it mean to have to take them to hospital every so often? How do we now begin to bring in caregivers? Begin to adjust and learn, and then unlearn the old. If now my social life has to be reduced because I have to take a lot of time to take care of my elderly parent, maybe I've even brought that parent to my house to live with me, I have to unlearn that if I used every Wednesday evening to have coffee with my girls, then I will have to unlearn that I can't do that anymore because I have a new responsibility. Life has changed. But then also I put there, reach out. You do not have to adjust and work on this alone. If there are experts who can help you, people, for example, as I'm talking about an ailing parent, we took care of my siblings and I, our parents over some time. And I know the burden that can be, burden in a good way, because our parents took care of us when we were young. We want to take care of them when they are aging. But it can weigh down on you. Reach out, ask for expert help, people who know how to take care of the elderly, people who know what you can expect. Reach out and get the assistance. And then carry a positive attitude. Carry a positive attitude. Focus on what you will gain, not on what you have lost or what you have given up. Slick Slime Sam is a children's YouTube channel, and there's a song, I believe, or something that says, we will weather the weather, whether we like it or not. And so you find yourself in a state where, whether you like it or not, that is where you are. So you better weather with the weather. And so under adapting, there needs to be a self-realization that God does not waste experiences. He works in all things. He does not waste experiences. Believe it or not, you who is hearing me, what God has allowed to happen to you is an experience that tomorrow he will use to speak to someone. If I hadn't gone through the transitions I'd gone through from 2023 to now, Shoti would have been asking me, you're a transition coach. Have you gone through any transition? I'd tell me, actually, I don't know. I'd be bringing here theory knowledge. But I have gone through it. I'm not saying now I'm very good and I'm better than everyone else. But then I have a feeling, I know, when I say you get stuck there, when I say you need to adjust your sales, I have had to adjust. And I know that God does not waste that experience. He wants someone else to learn from your experience. So tell me today, or think through, what attitude are you carrying as you face your new reality? What attitude are you carrying? Are you carrying an attitude of adaptability? Or are you saying, no, I am stuck there? Because if you're stuck there, then my dear friend, you're not going to make any forward movement. So we are on new opportunities. The word change has ended there, new opportunities. And new opportunities, we are saying there is a lot of potential within you, and that you need to identify those opportunities that you can seize. There's a lot that lies within you, and it is activated by your faith in God. Shoti and I will tell you our anchor has been God. We cannot have this conversation and not have God in it. God will provide new opportunities. Look around, identify them. One big opportunity is you learning about yourself. Let me tell you, unless you go through a difficult season or a transition like that, you won't learn about yourself. Why? Because when we are in what we call a comfort zone, we are so comfortable, we probably don't even bother to look aside or aside, this side or the other. We are just comfortable. Everything is going on okay. But when you're challenged, when something shifts, you're forced to sit back and have to learn about yourself. So gain new insights about yourself. Remove routine and dullness. That's what new opportunities will do. They remove routine and dullness because you are so predictable. Oh, she leaves the house at 7 in the morning. She's usually back by 4. But now you have no job. So 7 in the morning is still finding you in the house trying to figure out what to do. So it removes routine and dullness and that predictability that gets you so comfortable. And that doesn't mean that that is bad or that is good. We're just saying it's a change that wakes you up to do things differently. And possibly in that doing things differently, that initiative, that innovation, as you begin to figure out how to do new things and do them in a different way, you're growing. It helps you to be flexible. As you grab new opportunities, it promotes flexibility. And that now adds on to your adapting to your new situation. You begin to be more flexible. You will find that when change happens, you realize, hey, actually, I need to adjust. I need to flex. I should be ready anytime. I should just be ready. Because things happen. You hear us talking a lot, saying a lot, things happen. You learn to be a bit more flexible. You hold on to things less tightly. Have you seen when people lose jobs, they now learn, oh, okay, so the next job, I won't hold it too tightly. It can go anytime. You begin to be flexible and to say, I can do things differently. Maybe because now I've learned from the experience of losing jobs, I will now start a new side hustle so that even if I get another job and I lose, I have something on my side. So that challenge that you faced and faced with courage enables you to be a bit more flexible as you adopt your new situation. And then you evaluate and reinforce your values. When you have new opportunities, your perspective changes. When you begin to see this as an opportunity that I can seize, you begin to ask myself, is that something I believe in? Can I do it? Is it in line with what I believe? Is it in line with my Christian standing? Is it in line with what my parents taught me? Is it in line with my practices? So a person, Thomas Kyle said, a person with a clear purpose will make progress on even the roughest road. If you have a clear purpose, no matter how rough that road goes, how rough that road is, when with your clear purpose, you will make progress. But guess what? The person who has no purpose will make no progress, even if the road is very smooth. So the point here is to have purpose. And that purpose is what will help you as you're talking about new opportunities. You'll be saying, my goal, I still want to achieve my goal. I have lost my job. My goal was to build a home for my family. I will still look for something that will earn me an income because the building that I was building in Shags has to come to an end. And with that purpose that you have, even when the road is so rough, you will find a way. God will make a way for you because you're determined and you want to grab those new opportunities. In Isaiah 48, allow me to quickly read that verse. I am the Lord your God who teaches you what is good and leads you along the paths you should follow. So that even when you are in that point of crossroads, you're wondering now what this has happened, where do I go? The Lord says he will teach you what is good and he will lead you in the path that you should follow. What is that path that of new opportunities that you can grab? So in new opportunities, we want to be motivated, to have that self-motivation, to know that God is working for your good. Remember the verse in Romans, God is working for your good. And when he's working for your good, he will provide a way. So what opportunities, new opportunities, is this new reality presenting for you as you go through this transition? What new opportunities is this new reality that you are in presenting for you? I have only two more. There's G and E. Growth and transformation is for the G. So seek to grow personally through the new reality and opportunities. Remember, we've talked, you know your circumstances. You've harnessed your strengths, you know them. You've adopted, you've grabbed your new opportunities. Now, in your new opportunities and your new reality, seek to grow personally. This growth could be taking new courses. It could be seeking support of others. It could be making now even yourself making even a bigger change. You have lost your job, now you get even a bigger change. You decide, I'm moving out of town and going to look for another job, or I'm relocating my family to another country or to up country. You make in your new reality, as you grab those opportunities, seek to grow personally. You as an individual, but also the people around you. So we are saying also then seek to impact others. That it's not just you who grows personally, but impact the other people around with your positive attitude. Why are we concerned about others? Because in many cases, a transition does not affect you alone. You remember when I was talking to Shoti about my transitions? There were transitions that were mine at the workplace. But even those mine at the workplace will affect my husband, because he will be like, okay, so what does that mean for income? When he transitions, oh, I'll ask, what does that mean for income? When the children transitions happen and they're going to a different level of schooling and education, that changes because we are changing from one institution to another. So are they being dropped? Are they being picked? Do they need bus fare? So that whatever transition happens to you, so long as, because we are social beings, we are in a state of a family and society, it affects the people around us. So then when you're growing in your new state and your new reality with your new opportunities, then seek to also impact the people around you with your positive attitude, because they're looking up to you, with what you do, your actions and reactions, and the change that is happening within. And guess what? When the people around, particularly children, and I want to speak to us as parents, when we are going through change, and one of you actually, Shoti, you didn't ask me that question, so let me ask myself and answer it. When I was going through the transition, and of course then my husband was going through it, and the children, and question is, did we sit as a family and talk about it? Yes, we did. When they were transitioning, we talked to them about it. How do you people feel about going? And of course, they're going to new institutions. My daughter's transition from grade 6 to 7. She went to a new school. My son went to university. So we talked about that. When it was my transition at the office, changing of bosses and all of that, and eventually leaving, my husband as well, we talked about them. What does this mean to us? Will we be dropped? Will we be picked? How will we manage the day? And all that. And on top of that, we actually, the person who was helping us in the house reached a point where she needed to also leave. In the midst of all of this, then I also did not have what we call house managers. And that's the most interesting one, Shoti, if I can throw it in here, because I'm talking to mothers. I then had to release my girl in the midst of all these transitions. And I sat there and I said, wow, this is a lot. But then I realized when the person left who used to help us, guess what? The four of us had to pull our weight. And within a month, everyone was saying, actually, it is better when we don't have someone. Let's stay like that. So we now, up to now, it has been 6 months, more than 6 months, we don't have one. Of course, we have the one probably who just comes in once a week and goes, but we do not have a live-in fully. So what did we do? We allowed each of our transitions affect each other. We began to understand what each one of us is going through, what changes are we going through, and we began to appreciate that our new state is even one that's helping us even now draw closer, because then you don't have someone in the house who does not quite belong to family. We are just now the four of us. So impact others with your change, with your new circumstance. Stay focused on your goal and your personal development. Do not get derailed. Stay focused. Focus, by the way, is very, very important. Stay focused. Why? There are voices you will hear. And I tell you this as one who's gone through transitions many at a go. People will come with all forms of advice. They've never gone through what you've gone through. They will try to tell you this, that, or the other. Do this, do that. This is the action you should take. At the end of the day, what is it you want to achieve? What is your goal? And that's why self-awareness is critical. Stay focused on your goal. If it means shutting out other voices, do it, because you need to do this for yourself. I know I may sound like I am contradicting myself, because I'm the same one in this talk who I said reach out to others. But we are saying you reach out to those who will help you, not those who will bring voices that now will just increase the anxiety, increase the fear, increase the concern. Seek help from those who will help you and those who see things the way you see them. Because if you see them things that way, they appreciate your goal and what you want to achieve, then they will support you. But you cannot then be going to people who are also fighting you. You now get even more confused. So be focused, stay on your goal and on your personal development. Don't get derailed. And then if you fail, maybe you've decided, okay, now I don't have work, I'm going to start pig business. So I buy pigs and I put, that business fails. So you say, okay, now let me try chicken. Oh, you struggle, it doesn't, don't give up. Try, try, try. There is someone who I think we said he did something, tried business, I think 15 times before he finally got it and never gave up. So don't give up. Winston Churchill says, courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. And for me here, the key thing is enthusiasm. So when you try something once, then you try it again and try it again. Will you have the enthusiasm to try the fourth time? That takes courage. So do you see how courage is so critical in today's conversation, that you just have to take courage? So when you're seeking to grow, you're looking inward and saying, what is my purpose? And I know that God has a purpose for my life. That's what we read in Romans. He has a purpose and he will fulfill it. So what areas of growth and development do you see in the transition that you have? Knowing that God has a purpose for you. Wherever this conversation we're having today finds you, and you know that God has a purpose, and you want to grow personally, even through what you're going through now in forms of a transition, what areas of growth and development are you seeing ahead of you? And finally, the E, evaluate the impact of your transition. Evaluate the impact of your change, because the change that you've gone through has had impact. Like I said, ours was impacting the children, impacting everybody. So who has been impacted by that transition? Evaluate. And as you're taking this evaluation is of the transition, but then evaluating this process we've gone through. As you're looking at your circumstances, under A, as you're harnessing your changes, C, under H, you're harnessing your changes. You're harnessing, your strengths. You're adapting, under A. You're grabbing your new opportunities, under N. And you're growing, under G. You're evaluating even that process. So rely on God, because only God will continue to build your faith and your faith in him. Rely on him. You cannot do this on your own. And then build character. We talked about resilience earlier. Building of character happens when this transformation happens within you. I'm telling you, as you go through this, you begin to appreciate your strengths. You begin to appreciate who you are. You begin to appreciate who God is in your life. You begin to appreciate what he has allowed to happen, and even people he has put in place. As you begin to look out to who can assist me in this new circumstance, that builds character, that builds resilience. As you begin to see, I can actually do it. This is not going to bring me down. Then your relationships begin to be affected because you build them. They're affected positively. They are impacted. I told you in our own family now, when we did not even have someone staying with us because for other reasons that had nothing to do with us, she needed to leave, she was not well. We then had, our relations were even closer. We were like, no, now we can even stay alone. It is okay. Because now they are much older. They're not children, and we needed a lot more help. So relationships around you, they need to be changed by that transition. What you're going through, because you're drawing people into your circumstance. The people close to you are experiencing this with you one way or the other. So as you're growing, then that change also needs of growth, and that impact needs to reach out to them as well. So the results of all this will be growth. It will be you building yourself and you building others. This is what we are talking about, transformation. In coaching, we focus on that transformation, on you as an individual, on the circumstance you're going through, and how you're making a difference to the people around you. So what is the impact of the transition that you're going through? Or what will be the impact of this transition after you've taken heed of the things that I've talked about today? So transition is not just about our ability to stay flexible or the ability for us to change. But it is about our ability to reflect and to learn from our experiences and to integrate those experiences into who we are today as we go through them, but also more importantly, who we are becoming tomorrow, having gone through them and coming out at the other end. I'll read that again. Transition is not just about your ability to stay flexible or to ability to change, but your ability to reflect and to learn from your experience and to integrate those experiences into who you are and more importantly, who you're becoming. So I'll ask you this question. 2 years from today, what will be your story about your transition? You're going through a change this year. 2 years from today, we're talking about the year 2027, before we do elections. What will be your story of transition? What will you say? I went through a transition in 2025. Now in 2027, as I look back, I thank God because today I'm a different person. Or will you say, I am still suffering from that transition? Oh, the things they did to me. May you not be the one in the latter. May you be the former who says, with that transition, I impacted people. I moved. We are not talking about money success, but you made a change, not just in your life, the people around you. If there is a financial success to it, we praise the Lord and we thank Him. But that's not our focus. Our focus first is building you as an individual and you being transformed. And finally, I just want to share with us the words of T.D. Jakes. He came in Nairobi in 2019, and this quote has always stuck with me. Others can inspire you, but ultimately, the only thing that empowers you is what lies within you and learning how to better utilize what you have been given. Other people will inspire you, but eventually and finally, what will empower you is what lies within you and learning how to better utilize what God has given you. Remember, we said you harness your strengths. So no matter what happens to you, what people do to you, or what transitions are imposed on you, or what transitions you meet, what will help you is what lies within you and learning how to utilize it so that you can come out a better person, a transformed person, a grown person. We thank God for this opportunity. I am personally very happy to have done this. I hope that this has somehow made a difference for you, made you see transitions, for example, in a different way, because maybe we have a negative connotation to it or negative thoughts, or we always think when we go through some difficult time, then this is not a good thing. Sometimes, yes, it may be painful, but God, as God says, those circumstances are for good. So stick on what is your purpose. Focus on it. And when transitions come, like we say, don't lose focus. Look inward. How can this transition help me come out a better person? Thank you, Shoti. I think I will end there. Unless you have questions or something.
Thank you so much, Nyambura. That was so powerful. It was actually a masterclass. I'm glad I didn't want to interrupt because I was also learning and just taking in and soaking in the information. Thank you for simplifying such a heavy topic into steps that we can be able to follow, and also giving us as moms examples of areas that we can be going through transition. Some are so easy we don't even recognize. You gave us the example of crossing the road. We've gotten from this side to that side, but we didn't think, oh, it's a transition. So thank you for removing kind of things that keep us stuck. One thing that I've picked from you is how we can either stay stuck or lost, or decide to be grateful, because on the other side of a transition is a transformation. Like God will allow that renewing of our mind, and the more we allow God to use our situation, the more we get to know what His will is for us. And His will is always, it's always perfect, it's always good, it's always pleasant. And I'm very, very grateful. So you have a question, Nyambura, from YouTube, and I'll share it in the chat even as I read. And you've been asked, how do you differentiate resistance to change due to fear or resistance to change because it's something that's not it isn't truly about you. Like maybe you are you want to transit, but what I'm picking from this is it, do we say I'm resisting? Is it that I'm fearful, so I'm resistant? Or is it, it's not change that is valuable to me as a person? Like I'm not fearful, it's just not my thing. But I've sent for you the question on chat. Maybe you can stop sharing the slide so that you can speak to the person.
So that
Yeah.
I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm understanding is the question, I'm trying to access it. How does one differentiate between resistance to change due to fear or resistance to change because it isn't right for you? Very good question. And this is what I alluded to earlier when we talk about change management. It depends on how this change came about. And in change management, we say one of the things that are critical is the person to be aware of what the change is, and even I've alluded to it here. If we do not know what the change is and what it entails, who it's going to affect, like sometimes, let me use an example of an organization, for example. So maybe you're in an institution and maybe there's going to be a rotation or a restructuring of the institution. And so you're always being told there'll be restructuring, but you're never being told what that means. And then finally, you're not even involved in it. You just wake up one day and you're told, oh, you are working in HR, now you're going to be in IT, for example, in communications or somewhere. So you're moved to a different place. And so you will be resistant, one, because you are not involved. Nobody asked you whether you have the skills to go there. Nobody has inquired from you what it means for you. This change could even be that maybe you're being relocated and you work from Mombasa or from Kisumu. Whereas, yes, on the one side, you have signed the dotted line that I work faithfully for this institution. You knew that you are going to work for it under certain circumstances. You had applied for a particular job that is located in Nairobi. You wake up one day, you're being told to go to Addis Ababa, but it was not in your plan. So yes, would you be resistant? Yes, you would be because you are not involved. But I would agree with that part of resistance to change. And we always encourage in change management, let those people who are going to be affected by change be aware. So resistance or fear. Now, fear would be that even with knowing all the things that change is bringing to you, you're still afraid to take it. I hope that differentiates. Yeah. So you're aware, you've talked about it, you're still afraid. But fear will be there, whether the change was done intentionally, involved you, you'll always be. Fear is constant. Whether you knew the change was coming or it wasn't, fear would usually be there. Why? Because we always fear the unknown. Fear of unknown is there all the time. And the unknown could be, you have friends who work in Addis. You've even gone, you visited them. You know Addis inside out. You can even take someone to a supermarket there. But today you're told to go to Addis. You know of Addis. You had it, you go there, but you physically not worked from there. So there's still an unknown bit of it. So fear will always be there. I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, thank you. And in line with that, because you've also, when you were giving your testimony at the beginning, you also said how there are also shifts in where you are working, and
Yeah.
you are even moved, even though it was a promotion, leading a department, it was still a change. So there's people who are now in that space where there's changes in the office setup. And like you've given an example, so I did HR, so I'm being moved from HR to go into a place completely, I am not qualified, I do not have the skill set to go into IT. So it kind of means for me it's not the right place for me, but I need this job because it's important to, participating in my home financially. So what would you tell somebody who's being moved to a place where they just know it's not right for me, but I really need the income or something, what comes with the job, the insurance and things like that. And then there are no jobs and I have a job and I'm being moved, but I have no skill set. So I'll fail. It's almost like I know I'll fail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, those are the things that when we are talking about coaching, and when you say, what would you tell the person? Unfortunately, when you're speaking to a coach, coaches don't tell people what to do. So I find myself a little lost. But
Yeah.
in terms of what I think, if this person wants to sit with me, what I will do is, as we're going through a coaching session, is talk to them about what does this mean for you. You've already alluded to it, Shoti. You've said, me in HR, I cannot be in IT. I don't have the skill set. So it's like putting me up for failure. So we'll have that conversation. So Shoti, when you're having that, when you're in IT, you can't even make sense out of whatever and whatever, the bytes and whatever they call those things. So if you can't, what does it mean for you? And then you tell me, by then, Nyambura, I think this one I will fail. So what options are there for you? So I would ask this person to think about the options. What are your options? You need an income, which is a very valid reason. So how long then can you hang on that job to get an income? That's one. Two, if you don't deliver and you're hanging there so that you have an income, will you still be employed? If you're not delivering on your, okay, fine. If you are forced to deliver, what other options are there? How can you do? Is it somewhere you can develop skills? So then can you do some training so that then you develop skills? Is your employer one you can engage with? Can you now go to HR office officially and tell them, I need skills for this new job? I don't mind taking it. I need a job. I love this organization, but can you help me develop skills? You can do some training and develop skills. So it is to look at the options, but then keep your mind open for the new opportunities. Remember, that's what we said. So that if a new opportunity is to get skills for this new IT job, then do so. If the opportunity is to say, me, I am so stuck in HR, stuck in IT, then start looking for another job and move to that job. At the end of the day, what is the purpose God has for you as a person? Because you need to stay focused on that purpose. I think the problem comes is when, because we just want a job, we end up doing things that we are not even interested in. That's not even in our purpose. And we are struggling. The organization is suffering because then you're not optimal in your performance. So options are the issue. Look at the options that are available for you and grab whatever opportunities that are there. But of most importance, keep a very positive mindset. Keep a positive that even this you can handle. You just need to find a way. If you need to sit with someone to talk about it, then do that. If you need to go back to the organization and tell them, I really want a job, help me to see how to cope, then do that.
Yeah. I think you've been able to answer, especially the last part where, is this the right thing for me? Yeah, look at all the options and then find the opportunity that is within those options so
Yeah.
that you don't then lose a job, which means your children maybe won't go to the schools that they're already going to, and the nice things that jobs come with. I think the part for, feeling resistance to change. I think you've taken us. The whole masterclass was about that. I feel that part has been answered, and they'll be able to do that. Now that we are talking about workplace, and you just came from the 9 to 5s, and you've joined us in this side of 24-hour employment.
Yeah.
um, what if the boss? It's now the change is you've been brought a new boss, and this new boss is not self-aware because you've taken us through the steps. Moving from change to transformation, number one, requires self-awareness. So I have a boss who is not self-aware. They have no idea that they are part of what is making me stuck and not performing optimally. It's them. They are the problem. But you can't tell your boss, actually, you're the problem. So there's that person who is now, it's not about they've got new opportunities, or they've been moved from HR to IT. Now they are in the position where they love their job, but the person that they have has been brought above them, is not self-aware that they're the problem. So dealing with a person who is not self-aware, maybe you can encourage a mom, because that's a transition, moving from, we worked so well with my previous boss and now we are here, and this one, not self-aware, is almost stepping on people.
A very interesting one, and I think that happens a lot to many people. I would start off again looking inward. We said that when you go through a transition, you need to look at yourself and see, how is this transition affecting you? So asking yourself, how is this particular person affecting me? I want to be very clear about that, because sometimes a new person comes and everyone in the office has this opinion of that person. Oh, as you're saying, he's not self-aware. He's not self-aware is something that everybody has labeled this person with. So you individually, you need to figure out, what does he's not self-aware mean for you? Do you have even some level of understanding with that person? Because it could be yes, to other people he's not self-aware, but when he supervises you directly, maybe there is something you're seeing in this person. Okay, he's not so bad. It's just that for example, he doesn't realize when it's 4 o'clock, I need to go home. He expects that we should be here till 6. And I think that's one of the things that really disturbs mothers. So, and that could be one of his weaknesses. So is the issue that he has some weaknesses that if you brought them to him and say, now that you're new in the department, is it possible for us to have a conversation on, and even put it like it's more concern for him. And you can come to him and say, how do you like working? I always like knowing my supervisors, how they prefer working. And actually, when I went to the new department, I was saying were taken to head. One of the people that was supervising came and said, okay, Nyambura, you're new in our department. I'd like to know, how do you like working so that we can, and that really helps. So go and ask, how do you like working? And this person may say, oh, for me, by the way, 4 o'clock, I find you people leave too early. I think we should be staying. Then state your, for me, as a mother, I drop my children to school in the morning, so I'm here by 7 after I drop them. So I need to be home in the evening when they come home, so I leave at 4. Also state your. So if the point I'm getting to here is that if you state your terms of how you work, and they can see you actually work hard and you're committed to the institution, but they are still unaware, as you're saying. So this tag you have tagged, that has he's been tagged, you can see it's actually a real problem for him. Guess what? He's an adult, you cannot change him. So you need to begin to think, is this a place that I can stay and I can work? If there are things that are illegal, in a sense that they are doing things that are not allowed by the institution, those you can go and address with HR and say, my new boss is pushing hours that my contract says I should be going home at 4, if that's what it needs. But then at the end of the day, guess what? It's you who has to make that personal decision of whether is this a place I can stay and work for long, or is it a place I need to start thinking of options? Or is this somebody who, as I work, I can begin to influence? And we do that. There's a way you can influence your boss, that they begin to appreciate the work they do, and they see that you don't have to be here till 6 to work hard. You can work hard between 7 and 4, the time that you leave. So each situation is so different, but the point I'm getting it to is, don't be so quick to, with everybody hype that this person is so unaware. Try to understand the person and make that individual decision, because maybe you're the person who will help this person see the better. So that transition becomes a growth area for you, transforms you, and that transformation spreads to him. Like we said, it should affect the people around you.
Yeah, that's something that we have to keep training ourselves after this conversation, is that what's the impact, and then
Yeah,
what good will come out of this, because God will not waste any opportunity.
exactly.
There's a
Yeah.
young man the other day who was took his phone because he was being auctioned. He took his phone and just started recording himself on TikTok and said, I'm being auctioned, as people are carrying things behind. And he said, this is what I do, I make pools. And I think Eric Omondi just picked him, and now he has a job in Nyeri
Oh,
already,
excellent.
because he picked
Wow.
his, he
Yeah.
didn't stay stuck in that rock bottom type of situation. He decided, what do I have? What are the
Mm.
options? I have my phone,
Mm.
I'm on TikTok. Let me tell people this is what is happening. And although, because I remember watching him and just thinking, boy, yeah, I just feel like hugging him and just saying, imagine, it will be okay. People have gone through rock bottom, but that opportunity, which people were like, cry for help, actually
Yes.
added value, and he has gotten
Mm.
an
Mm.
opportunity to work. Um, so I just wanted to say that in terms of what you're saying, that looking for options, and yeah, just being honest with, this is the circumstances, is where I'm at. So I want to talk about another circumstance, feeling left behind. Um, you mentioned we are heading to the fifth floor now. Uh, Maybe some are already there. Some are like the
Mm.
lady you gave an example. She was about, she didn't think she was retiring. Then she's being told you have 6 months to a year. Sometimes we feel left behind. There's what we had planned, so plans are good. We want to crush the goals and go forward, but we still feel left behind. Circumstances like those. So do you go looking for those opportunities, because do you create your own transition to almost run? to try and achieve the things that you wanted to achieve already?
A very interesting one, because I also coach those who are retiring or those who have retired. And you sometimes find that, yes, in some of those situations, somebody really wanted to do certain things and they were not able to. And in many instances, it's not because they had not thought about them, they had thought about them, it's just the ability to do, because some of these things need resources. And maybe the person is still educating children, and everybody's life, we are all on such different paths, right? So do they start rushing to do these things at last minute? It depends on what is available for them. What I have found is useful is taking stock of where you are at. So when you take stock and say, all right, I am now 50, so I have 10 years to go. But at my workplace, I can only work until 55. I think there are those people who require 55, you retire. So I have 5 years to go. Then you could sit with someone. In fact, those are people who are, it would be very useful to sit with a coach. And you would then sit with someone and say, okay, what is my 10-year plan? From 50, sorry, to 60, I have 10 years. I must leave work at 55. What is it that I would want to achieve in 10 years? And out of those 10 years, what can be done in these 5 years when I'm working? And then the other 5. So you begin to put a plan in place. And that's why, if you saw when I was saying, as one of the things you need to set is objectives and goals, and which you own, and then you guide and you lead, you take ownership. That's how you're empowered. So when we as coaches say we empower you because these things come from within you. You're the one telling me, in 10 years, you will come actually, Shoti, and you will tell me, Nyambura, I don't know, I am 50. I'll tell you, Shoti, at 60, what do you want? You're now 60. Tell me how you want it to look like. And so as you describe what your 60 looks like, we can be able to work back and see, so how do we get there? So I would say all is not lost. All is not lost. Wherever the point you are at is the point you begin from. If you need to bounce back from something you're feeling you're so many steps backwards, you need to bounce back and say, okay, I am now here. Fold your sleeves and say, now let me run this race I was supposed to be running and I'd given up on. Do that. But there is help. One does not have to struggle alone. There is help. There are coaches out there who can work with you. There are transition coaches. If it's business, I also do business coaching, by the way. There's business coaching, but there is help. The message that I would like us to have here is that there is help and areas of growth and opportunities that you can grasp and bounce back and have your life, in a sense, transformed and affecting those around you. It is not too late. Saying run, catch up, is there a time? You just set goals based on, you break them down into small, sizable bits that you then can achieve.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So as we come to an end, allow me to acknowledge some people who said hi as well. We have Waluala, who joined us, Coach Nyambura, glad to have joined in. And we also have Dorcas Congo, and we also have Wango. I'm sure the rest are not commenting. Those are the ones who've said something. So thank you for those who've been hanging out with us for the time that we've had so far. I think what I've picked in regards to transition is the end of transition is growth and transformation. So we shouldn't be afraid of whatever transitions come our way, whether they are very hard, terrible rock bottom type transitions, or they're just the easy ones that come our way. Thank you for breaking us down. I would like to tell anyone who's joining us right now, you have to go back to the beginning, because I think you've taken us through a wonderful journey of understanding change, the place of courage, and then now helping us understand the process of transformation from that place of self-awareness to then impact. There's a reward at the end. So I've really loved hanging out with you, Nyambura. I think this was the time that you needed to meet.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the best time. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for not holding back. Thank you for sharing your life stories, your stories with clients, and also your expertise. So maybe you can tell us a little bit now about Coach Nyambura and what your organization does. I think it's important for those who want to now have a separate personal conversation beyond here. they can be able to reach out, tell us a little bit more about your organization.
Okay. So allow me, Shorty, to just share a slide. I think that will make it easier for me to just show that. I hope you're seeing it. You put it on presentation mode. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
there we go. So it was the next slide from where I had left. And this is just 3 key areas. WorthLife coaching and consulting is a consulting and coaching firm. And basically, I am the lead coach. I coach on transition and business. And on transition coaching, basically, like I think I've described a lot of it today. And so it just helps you gain clarity to reduce stress and improve your decision making. It's for your personal and professional development, and it helps you have growth and resilience, and you get continuous support from me as a coach. So there is transition coaching. It's for individuals. Sometimes you can do it for group, but transition is best done for individual, because unless you're all transitioning, transition affects people differently. Then secondly, there is business training and coaching. This one, in terms of training, is focusing a lot on people who want to generate business ideas. I didn't realize coaching, developing business ideas is so hard sometimes, because you need to brainstorm, and you can't brainstorm on your own. So sometimes you need a coach to help you think about ideas. Are they viable? Do they make sense? So we both train and coach on generating business ideas, how to start and grow your business, business planning, how do you do your marketing strategy, and financial management. So that is both training and coaching. I am a certified trainer, Start and Improve Your Business. That is a program that is done by the International Labour Organization, the ILO. So I'm certified to do that training, and I provide it. And then ministry, leadership, and coaching. This is a very interesting area for me, because having been in ministry and in the church, I have observed how sometimes in the church there's a lot of leadership gaps, and not just the church, in all institutions, but I think in the church, where it is that we are sharing the gospel, it is important that we equip our leaders with skills for ministry. And also the fact that sometimes you will find in the church, people are lonely. I don't know who to tell. I don't know who to talk to about my personal life away from the church. So equipping leaders in the ministry, whether they are pastors or people leading ministries. So I do coaching on that encompasses certain areas. Their spiritual leadership or vision planning, maybe finding meaning and purpose to what they do, character and the virtue, the professionalism. Sometimes somebody told me that the church is where there's the least professionalism, and that was very sad for me to hear. And then your life satisfaction and financial stability. That is one thing people really fear talking about in church, finances, because you're seen like you're thinking this gospel of, talking about wealth and all of that. But God wants us to be able, He says He's the one who gives us the ability to create wealth. So we also talk to people in ministry. Should you be having issues about financial stability in the church? So ministry leadership coaching is an area that that's close to my heart, because I keep saying that the gifts that God has given me and the training He has given me should not just help me in the marketplace, but then also to help build the kingdom of God. So those are the 3 key areas that WorthLife is currently involved in. As an individual, it's very close to my heart now as Nyambura to mentor young people. So I also talk to young professionals. I hold talks like what I'm holding today. I'll go somewhere and hold talks to ladies, to mothers, to women, to children. And with my husband, we also do marriage talks. So but with regard to WorthLife itself, this is what I focus on.
Thank you, Nyambura. Yeah, contact.
Did you want me to have them?
Yes, I think it's good to have them
Okay.
in case somebody jots them down so that they know how they can
All right, there we
out to
are.
you. Yeah, so
So you
that's
can
her
reach
mobile
me.
number.
Yes, that's a mobile number. And if you visit the website, worthlifecoaching.com, you have an opportunity there to, if you want to have a quick Before we do coaching, we offer an opportunity for about 20, 30 minutes of just talking to someone who desires to be a client, because maybe they want to understand, can I even be your client? So you can even go there and book that opportunity to just have a chat with me. But I would encourage one to just go into the website. On WorthLife is, of course, and on Facebook and on Instagram. I know I didn't put the Instagram one here, but on LinkedIn you will find as Nyambura Auma. But on LinkedIn, it's not WorthLife. WorthLife is a page, so it's also there, but it is a page. Yeah, because LinkedIn was more for work, so the work I was doing. So as I transition, there we are. So I'm on the socials and on the website, please. And the website is linked to my socials, so you should be able to trace to find WorthLife there. Would love to hear from you, ladies, especially the mothers.
Mm. Thank you. Thank you, Nyambura. Yeah, let's take that down. I'll still make sure to link. I'll have them in the description after this,
Okay.
so that they can be able to reach out in case they don't want to go through the entire presentation again. They'll be able to find everything in the description below. So thank you so much, Nyambura. I've loved this. I hope you can come again, maybe not transition in terms of just business, but also I feel we need to have conversations around relationships. I feel the young people, especially when it comes to marriage, they're just jumping from one relationship to another. I think either their level of transition is, I feel nothing, I'm moving on. We can be the wise women to talk
we
a
can
little
have
bit, as long as
conversations.
you're not in a space where you're in danger. Maybe just talking about the institution of marriage. You can recommend somebody, because I think that's another transition that people are going into and taking it a little lightly. And then when they get in, they're not prepared for the changes that come within the institution. So I hope that's something that you can also talk about now that you said you're in. You talk to people around that. There's a quote that you gave, that courage is doing what you're afraid to do. There can be no courage unless you're scared. So just to acknowledge to those who are listening now and those who are listening after, that transitions come with being scared, they come with fear. But the question was, will you navigate the transition from a place of fear or from a place of faith? Thank you for bringing the word of God to encourage us and to lead us back to that place of apologies, to lead us to that place of always knowing in the end it's for our good, it's for our growth, it's for our transformation. So thank you, moms, for listening. And thank you, even if you're not a mom, you're a person who just wanted to hear a little bit about transformation, please reach out to Nyambura. Don't stay stuck. Don't stay stuck. That's robbing us of skill sets and things that you can help us with, robbing society, robbing your family. Don't do that. Don't go to the grave when you're full of stuff. Die empty. And part of how you do that is navigating transitions successfully. So remember, the life that you desire is truly, truly within reach. So thank you so, so much all for hanging out with us. May the Lord bless you. Any last words?
Thank you. I think what your tagline is really just in line with what I was talking about today, that the life one wants to have is really within reach.
Yeah.
And it's not just about the life you want to have, it's what life does God has for you. What is the purpose that God has? Each one of us has a purpose for which God put us here. And if you feel you're not walking in that purpose and you really need to find out what it is, that is why we need to have those conversations. We also help in coaching for you to, what is my purpose? I do not want to move to the next life when this one, I have not figured out what God wanted me to do. And as Shorty says, it is within reach. You can reach her, you can reach me. You have the help that you need. Thank you so much for having me here. It is good to be